First and foremost, it just revealed the kind of character that we have. The toughness, the relentless spirit, the flex. Is the Indiana Fever's fairy tale season already turning into a nightmare? Just weeks into the most anticipated WNBA season in history, a shocking rumor is tearing through the sports world, suggesting that coach Stephanie White is on the verge of making a decision so drastic, so controversial it could send shock waves through the entire league. After a humiliating loss to the Dallas Wings, the whispers have turned into roars, and the target is none other than their superstar rookie Caitlin Clark, along with key members of her supporting cast like Lexie and Sophie Cunningham. The question on everyone's mind isn't just if she will do it, but what happens to the Fever and the WNBA when she does. The promise of the Caitlin Clark era was supposed to be a golden age of sold-out arenas, records-shattering viewership, and a return to championship contention for the Indiana Fever. What nobody wanted to admit was that the leap from college legend to professional winner is a treacherous one, and the bright lights of stardom can cast some very dark shadows. It all started with a game that was supposed to be another step forward, but instead became a giant leap back, a public unraveling that may have forced the coach's hand. The matchup against the Dallas Wings wasn't just a loss on the schedule. It was a complete and total system failure broadcast live for the world to see. From the opening tip, the Fever looked outmatched, out-hustled, and completely overwhelmed. Ariane Bowl played like a woman possessed, a seasoned veteran determined to teach the rookies a brutal lesson. She relentlessly attacked Indiana's defense, which seemed to crumble under the pressure, rotating late, missing assignments, and giving up easy buckets at the rim. But the real story, the one that had cameras zooming in on the bench and analysts dissecting every micro-expression, was the performance of Caitlin Clark. While she still managed to put up points, a testament to her undeniable talent, she also coughed up the ball again and again. These weren't just aggressive mistakes. They were careless, telegraphed passes picked off with ease and lazy dribbles stripped away in the open court. Each turnover felt more deflating than the last, sucking the energy out of her team and the home crowd. You could see the frustration mounting not only on Clark's face, but on the faces of her teammates, and most importantly on the face of her coach, Stephanie White, whose expression shifted from concern to pure, unadulterated anger. This wasn't just a team having an off night. This was a team showing deep, fundamental cracks in its foundation. The offense, meant to be a high-powered machine built around Clark, was chaotic and disjointed. The defense was porous, a step behind Dallas on every play. The chemistry, which had looked so promising in moments, seemed to evaporate entirely with every missed shot and sloppy pass. As the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard told a story of defeat, but the body language on the court revealed something much more alarming. A crisis of confidence, a team that looked lost. And as the players walked off the court, heads music down, no one knew that this single devastating loss was about to ignite a firestorm that could consume their entire season. But that crushing defeat was only the beginning of the story, the spark that lit the fuse. The real bombshell dropped in the post-game press conference. Coaches often use these moments to soften the blow, to talk about learning experiences, moving on, and protecting their players from criticism. Stephanie White did the opposite. She stepped up to the microphone, and with a stone-cold expression that could freeze fire, she put her entire team on notice. She didn't have to name names. Her words were like laser-guided missiles aimed directly at the heart of the starting lineup. When she spoke about the urgent need for accountability music, and how some players need to learn what it takes to win at this level and learn it fast, the subtext was crystal clear and brutal. She was fed up. Reporters in the room noted that her tone wasn't just disappointed, it was furious, the kind of controlled rage that precedes a storm. She spoke of a disgusting lack of discipline music, and a complete failure to execute a simple game plan, emphasizing that no of talent can make up for fundamental mistakes and a lack of focus. This was a direct shot at the sloppy play that had plagued her team, especially the high number of turnovers that had become their Achilles heel, a self-inflicted wound that was bleeding them dry. Insiders and analysts immediately began decoding her message, and the conclusion was inescapable. She was threatening to shake things up in the most dramatic way possible. This wasn't a coach protecting her players. This was a coach drawing line in the sand. Her message was simple. The era of coddling their rookie phenom was over. The era of accepting careless, low IQ mistakes was finished. Stephanie White was signaling that playtime was over, and if her starters couldn't get the job done, she would find a combination of players who could, regardless of their name, their draft position, or their marketing appeal. She practically dared the media to read between the lines, hinting that championship habits aren't built on highlight reels, and that you can't talk about winning until you stop giving games away. The press conference was a declaration of war on mediocrity, and what happened next would send the rumor mill into an uncontrollable overdrive. This led directly to the most unthinkable speculation of all, a possibility so radical it felt like a fantasy sports headline come to life. The idea that Stephanie White could actually bench Caitlin Clark. Let that sink in for a moment. The generational talent, the player single-handedly credited with reviving and revolutionizing interest in the WNBA, the face of the league, could be sent to the sidelines to start a game, forced to watch from the bench. In the world of sports, this is the nuclear option. Benching a star player, especially one of Clark's magnitude, is music, a coach's ultimate power move. A clear and brutal message to the entire organization that no one is bigger than the team. For Clark, it would be a public humiliation on an unprecedented scale, a direct challenge to the messiah-like status she has held since her college days. But for a coach like Stephanie White, music it could be seen as a necessary evil, a painful but essential surgery to save the patient. The turnovers have been a persistent and game-losing problem. Despite her incredible offensive output and her ability to bend defenses, her mistakes are costing the team possessions and ultimately games. A short, sharp shock like a benching could be the wake-up call she needs to finally adjust her game to the professional level, to understand that the high-risk, high-reward plays that worked against college-level competition are often fatal gambles against the best players in the world. Yet the very idea is fraught with unimaginable peril. Clark is not just a player. She's an economic engine, a one-woman stimulus package for the entire league. Every game she plays sells out arenas and draws record-breaking television ratings that were once unthinkable. Benching her, even for the first 5 minutes of a game, could be seen as a betrayal by millions of new fans and a financially catastrophic decision by the franchise's front office. Music, this is the central conflict Stephanie White is facing. A battle between two opposing forces. Is she the coach of a basketball team responsible for wins and losses? Or is she the custodian of a global brand, responsible for ticket sales and TV deals? Her press conference fury suggests she is focused solely on the former. She knows that if the team keeps losing, the Caitlin Clark hype train will eventually run out of steam. Winning is the only currency that truly matters in professional sports, and she may be willing to risk a short-term media storm and a massive public backlash to build a long-term winner. The rumored shakeup doesn't music stop with Clark. In fact, its tendrils are expected to reach deep into the starting lineup with names like Lexie Hull and even the all-star center Aaliyah Boston being thrown into the fire. This suggests the problem in White's eyes is not just one player's rookie struggles, but the entire starting unit's lack of cohesion and defensive identity. Lexie Hull, often tasked with a crucial defensive role of guarding the opponent's best perimeter player, has struggled at times to contain the league's explosive guards. She's a tough player, but has she been a step slow on rotations? Has she been beaten off the dribble too easily in key moments? These are the questions the coaching staff is undoubtedly asking. Her offensive contributions have also been inconsistent, making her a potential liability when she isn't hitting her shots. But the inclusion of Aaliyah Boston's name in these whispers is what's truly staggering and reveals the depth of the crisis. Boston was the undisputed cornerstone of this team before Clark arrived, the reigning Rookie of the Year and the future of the franchise. The pairing of Clark's perimeter wizardry and Boston's interior dominance was supposed to be the most dynamic and unstoppable duo in the league. an inside-out force that would terrorize opponents for the next decade. However, the on-court chemistry has been a clunky, awkward work in progress. Boston has seen her offensive touches decrease dramatically, often looking like a secondary option or even an afterthought in an offense now built entirely around Clark's high-volume on-ball style. Is Clark missing her on the roll? Is Boston not getting the ball in her preferred spots on the block? Benching Boston, or even just publicly entertaining the idea, sends a terrifying message to the rest of the roster. No one is safe. No past accomplishment, no all-star appearance, no draft status can protect you. It hints that Stephanie White is willing to completely dismantle the existing hierarchy and throw every preconceived notion out the window in a desperate search for a lineup that actually works together, not just one that looks good on a poster. This isn't about punishing individuals. It's about a desperate, frantic search for a winning formula, and it seems White is ready to throw every single variable into a blender just to see what comes out. The dream team is starting to look more and more like a collection of talented strangers who just happen to be wearing the same uniform behind the scenes away from the cameras and the microphones. The situation is even more complicated and potentially explosive. Whispers are growing louder from sources close to the team that the locker room is a pressure cooker of unspoken tension and quiet frustration. This isn't surprising. When you introduce a superstar of Caitlin Clark's magnitude, a player who arrives with her own gravitational pull into an existing team dynamic, there are bound to be growing pains. Veteran players who have fought for years to earn their spot, who have bled for the franchise, are suddenly and unceremoniously thrust into supporting roles. Their contributions, their leadership, and their very presence are overshadowed by the all-consuming media frenzy surrounding one single rookie. While the players have been disciplined in public, music, saying all the right things and smiling for the cameras, the on-court body language occasionally tells a different, more honest story. A music-missed pass followed by a subtle eye roll, a moment of miscommunication leading to a frustrated shrug. These small, fleeting fractures can reveal deeper issues of a team not yet on the same page. Is there resentment over Clark's unprecedented endorsement deals and the constant media attention that ignores the rest of the team? Is there deep frustration from a player like Aaliyah Boston, who went music, from being the one to being the other one overnight? These are the delicate, complex human dynamics that coaches have to manage. And under the intense microscopic glare of the national spotlight, any crack can quickly become a canyon. Stephanie White is not just managing a basketball team. She's managing a cultural phenomenon, an experiment in team building happening in real time. The rumored benchings could be her way of reasserting control, a blunt force instrument to remind everyone from the star rookie to the seasoned veterans that the only thing that matters is the name on the front of the jersey, not the one on the back. But it's a dangerous high-stakes game to play. A move this drastic could either galvanize the team, forging them into a cohesive unit through shared adversity, or it could shatter the fragile locker room. Chemistry for good, turning teammates into islands of resentment. This entire saga, from the in-court struggles to the locker room whispers, exposes the fundamental war being waged within the Indiana Fever organization. The brutal, high-stakes war music between business and basketball. From a purely basketball perspective, a coach needs the autonomy to make tough, unpopular decisions for the ultimate good of the team. If a star player is consistently making mistakes that lead to losses, benching them is a standard time-honored coaching tool used to demand discipline, focus, and accountability. Stephanie White is an old-school coach, a former player who believes in earning your minutes and respecting the game. She sees a team that is talented but flawed, a group that is failing to live up to its immense potential due to a lack of discipline. She wants to win games, build a championship culture, and she knows that won't happen if certain players feel they are untouchable above the standards applied to everyone else. But the business side of the equation tells a completely different and conflicting story. Caitlin Clark is a commercial gold mine, a phenomenon unlike anything the league has ever seen. She is the reason the WNBA is finally getting charter flights. She is the reason games are being moved from small arenas to massive NBA stadiums. She is the reason ESPN is cutting into its regular programming to show her highlights. Every single ticket sold, music, every piece of merchandise flying off the shelves, and every new multi-million-dollar TV deal is tied directly and inextricably to her presence on the court. The front office, the team owners, and the WNBA League Commissioner are all acutely aware of this economic reality. They have a massive vested interest in keeping their number one asset in the spotlight at all times. This puts Stephanie White in an impossible, almost untenable position. Is she truly free to coach her team as she sees fit, to make the tough calls that winning requires? Or is there immense unspoken pressure from above to keep the stars on the floor regardless of their performance to protect the brand at all costs? A decision to bench Clark Hull or Boston wouldn't just be a basketball decision. It would be an act of defiance against a massive, powerful marketing machine that has hitched music, its wagon, to these stars. It's the central drama of the modern sports era, where the line between entertainment music and pure competition becomes dangerously blurred. So as the Indiana Fever prepare for their next game, the entire sports world holds its breath, waiting for the fallout. The official confirmation of a benching has not been made, but the writing is all over the wall. The humiliating loss to Dallas was not just another game on the schedule. It was a catalyst, a breaking point. Coach Stephanie White's fiery, unfiltered press conference was not just a momentary lapse of frustration. It was a calculated declaration of intent. The swirling rumors of a massive lineup change are not just idle gossip. They are the logical and perhaps inevitable conclusion of a team in crisis. Whether she actually follows through with what would be the most controversial decision of her career, music, remains the million-dollar question. If she does, she might be hailed as a coaching genius, a fearless leader who had the courage to discipline a superstar and forge a true team out of a collection of talented individuals. Or she could be vilified for derailing the biggest hype train in sports history, potentially alienating her franchise player and setting the organization back years. But if she backs down now after making such a public display, she risks losing the respect of her locker room forever, signaling to everyone that some players are indeed above the rules. One thing is now painfully clear. The Indiana Fever are at a crossroads, and the path they choose will define their future. Their next game is no longer just about getting a win. It's a referendum on the team's culture, the coach's authority, and the true, often hidden cost of superstardom. The honeymoon is officially and brutally over. The next time the Indiana Fever take the court, we won't just be watching a game. We'll be witnessing the answer to a question that could define a generation of